I believe I said Tampa Bay was going to win the Stanley Cup 6 years ago when the season started. I said that. I then said in the series they were going to win in 6. So just a dominating, amazing effort by a team for the ages. So we'll go into that. But, I mean, I can't believe this season's over. It really is bizarre. So what was our first episode of this season? Like the previews?
It was September 23rd, 2019. The first division we did was the Central Division with Roman Josi, and the season ended September 29th. So it was a year and 6 days of
Whoa, Chiclets bump for Roman Josi. Got the fucking
got that nori.
That's the most delayed Chiclets bump of all time, is it not?
Seriously, man, that's fucking hilarious.
Oh,
I didn't even think of that. Well, like I said, man, Dallas, they just got suffocated the other night. I mean, they played with the heart of champions, but I think they were just losing too many key players. But full credit to Tampa, absolutely suffocated them. Vic the Hedman got the Conn Smythe. Not a surprise there, but it wouldn't have been surprised if it went to Point or Cooch with the numbers those guys put up. Whit Dog, let's go to you first for your take on the game, the series, whatever.
Yeah, the game was just domination. It just felt like Dallas never stood a chance. And let me say one thing. I want to talk about Dallas like just first, you know, to give them the respect that they deserve. But that game, it made it. I think the final tally for Vasilevskiy, I have it. Yeah. He was 6-0 going into the game following a loss during the playoffs. He made it 7-0. Hobby Boone's the only other goalie in NHL history to have gone 7-0 after a loss in a single postseason, ironically enough, the last time when the Lightning won the Cup. So just an amazing performance by this guy, and that game was the perfect description of how dominant he was. He played every single second for every player, you know, every single game for the Lightning in this run. So you could talk about the two-goalie system, but he's a beast. Now, Dallas, what an effort. I tweeted out, like, I just felt sick to my stomach having been there and lost in Game 6 of the Cup final. Like I said before, when I was totally wrong about calling it the Corona Cup and that it was bullshit, it was probably 100 times worse for them than it was for us, because it was your lifelong dream that you're right there, you're so close, and all of a sudden it's gone. And like the whole ride and everything was kind of for nothing. Like it wasn't, but it was, because the ultimate goal didn't get achieved. And now these guys have gone through so much more than when I was in Pittsburgh. We're traveling to Detroit. You're on the road. You're playing in front of fans. Like, this was so difficult. And what they did in their effort was just so outstanding. Like, I commend all those guys. And I'll tell you right now, like, I remember that room in Pitt when Detroit won, when fucking RA was like sneaking in Chelios's underwear. Every guy in the room was in tears, you know, whether a guy's just like openly or he's, you know, getting changed somewhere else. It was heartbreaking. And then you see Jamie Benn's speech, and I think that was the most open you could ever, you know, the pain that you feel somebody having after losing the Stanley Cup. I don't remember an interview like that where he really couldn't even get out words. And I understand the reporters, they just ask another question. But it's not like he wants to answer your question. He just can't, because his family and what they did just they didn't get it done as amazing as the run it was. So shout out to that team, and shout out to like what they did, and Rick Bowness, what a career, and to do that after being a coach in the NHL that long. Just an amazing series, amazing run for them. They gave it their all, but Tampa Bay, holy shit.
And just more on Dallas too, and you know, Seguin, who I thought had a great final, especially as it progressed. You find out the laundry list of injuries that he had going through this, to the point where right now they're trying to decide on which one they need to prioritize to potentially get surgery on. Like, this is the type of.
Can you list those out? Or
I actually think RA has it written down.
Yeah, I got it right here. I had said, you know, he took some criticism during the playoffs for his lack of production. And, you know, you hate to criticize guys in the third round. At least I do. And this is a good reason why. Per David Pagnotta from the fourth period, Sago was playing with wrist, hip, groin, and knee injuries. He's going to get checked, like you said, Biz. Going to see what the priority is for surgery. And you got to think, I know a Bruins guy here, whatever, but watching Mark Recchi do what he did back in 2011, playing either right after Kidney Stones or with them, and then Bergeron in 13, you got to think like he had to go back to that to get himself out there a little bit, no?
And this guy in games 4 and 5, I think he had 5 points total, 3 assists in the one game. So he gave it his all. You mentioned the Ben interview, and you're going back to your tweet too, Whit, like just being absolutely gutted for these guys given the circumstances, but some bright spots on that team. Some of the young guys who were hurt and obviously not in the lineup affected them. But between Heiskanen and Klingberg and not having Bishop was obviously difficult. It would have been nice to see at least their number one, but given that circumstance, Hudobin was able to make a name for ourselves through this run, and I'd imagine he gets a nice fat contract out of this. So I'm sorry I mushed you guys. I was pretty bad these playoffs. Literally every team horrible. I don't know if you guys saw the memes post going through that Stargate. That was pretty good. It was how would you describe that?
You just disappearing into the black hole of non-existence because you can't pick one fucking playoff series winner. You're out of the podcast and media world forever. That was the meme of you just withering away.
Withering away. So, but going towards Tampa Bay, where you talked about Vasilevskiy and what he did in those games after following a loss. And I know we've been harping about this 2-goalie system, but I guess he's proved our theory wrong by taking the reins. The last time a goalie did that was Corey Crawford, and that was when Chicago won the Cup in, I believe, 2015, RA?
13 it was.
13, my apologies.
Thomas did in 11, not a big deal.
And you mentioned that dominant performance. I have never seen a team forecheck like that. Everyone talks about their puck possession and their zone entries and how high skilled they are. That team worked their balls off, and especially for the first 2 periods in that game 6, every time they dumped it in, it seemed like they went back and retrieved it, and nothing was going to deny the Tampa Bay Lightning of winning that Stanley Cup after getting embarrassed last year in the first round.
Yeah, and then the buzzer sounds, and Stamkos is getting in his gear to come out and raise the cup. And I was watching with Keith Yans and Billy Ryan, he's scout for the Panthers, our buddy, and I was just saying it would be amazing if he's raising the Stanley Cup, but just that one goal in that 2.5 minutes he played, it's so good for his mind, every fan. Do you know what I mean? It would have been an awesome thing for him, but not having played, it's just totally different.
You wouldn't have felt like you were a part of it.
You just wouldn't. He wouldn't. And I'm speaking for him, right? I'm not. But it wouldn't have been the same. But not only you get in, barely play a game, score a huge goal in a win in the Cup final. That's all that had to happen for you to, because you've done this. You've been so good for so long, and him raising the cup was so well deserved. And just the fact that goal happened, it made it so special. And right away, Jans is like, yeah, Hedman, Conn Smythe, no doubt. I actually was like, I don't know, Point or Vasilevskiy. I guess it ended up being an easier decision than I thought, at least. But you could argue for all 3 of them. And then seeing the cup passed around, I started thinking right away that it was a couple years ago, or, I don't exactly remember when, but veterans started getting pushed out, right? You're going to get a younger guy. You're going to get him cheaper. And the game started changing. It became faster. It became really tough for middle-class guys. The salaries there take a hit. You're either making a ton of money or you're down near not making a lot of NHL standards, right? So as the league changes and everyone gets younger and faster, you look at both the teams, and Tampa especially, talk about a veteran presence, because you get Shen there, you get Shattenkirk there, you get these older guys that are on small deals, some of them league minimal. You get Pat Maroon, and look at what happens. So yeah, it's a young man's game, but on the other side, Dallas had Perry making less money. He's older, so you can argue for getting younger and getting faster, but I think this series in Tampa proves you still need veterans in your lineup, and there's certain guys you can't pay $5-6 million to for what they do anymore. But when you're able to get guys that are maybe getting bought out and signing for less, and older guys that are willing to take less, that still makes such a difference in the run for the Stanley Cup.
I couldn't agree more. And Breezeball, I know Yzerman's getting a lot of credit for putting the nucleus of this team together and having a big hand in that. I'd be curious to know if he gets a ring, considering how much of a hand he had in putting this team together.
I've always said, would you want it? I wouldn't want. Everyone's like, you have a ring for the Penguins? I'm like, no, I wouldn't want it.
Well, it's a little bit, to me personally, it's a little bit different in management, but moving away from that, the moves that Brisebois made, and I think at the time, people might even question the overpayment, but when you win a Stanley Cup, there's no such thing as overpaying for players that you brought in. And Coleman, who's got another year left on his deal, and Goudreau, who's a great young asset, and you mentioned those older veterans that they brought in. To me, toughness is still very important, and I thought against certain teams, specifically the Islanders, when there was a little bit of pushing and shoving coming around, I thought that the Maroon pickup is huge because you have certain big guys in the lineup and Shen as well to take the focus off those skill guys. Mind you, those skill guys for Tampa, they did not shy away from any type of physicality. Yanni Gourde, Palat, Killorn, the depth.
How about Cirelli? Somebody should offer sheet Cirelli.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, we're getting into the offer sheet talk. Fuck,
I'm just like, this Tampa team, where are they going?
Oh, they're not.
If you want to cause a ruckus, the offer sheet, you don't want to ruin relationships. Like, how are you going to stop this team? You make them match a crazy offer or something for somebody because they have all these guys. They're going to have to make some tough decisions, but they are set for the future here.
Sergachev too.
And so apparently Sergachev, considering a lot of these guys have no move and no trade clause, I mentioned 8 of them. 8 guys, 8 of their top players on that team have no move or no trade clauses. But shifting to Sergachev, given that, he's one of the younger assets and he still hasn't signed the big ticket yet, he's probably more than likely to be moved and they can get a big asset return if, in fact, he wants to go make more of a contribution to another team. He's got his cup. I think at this point now, as a young player, you probably want your payday, right? You already got Hedman and McDonough on the left side there. I don't know where he's going to fall in. Anyway, shifting away from that, you mentioned the Conn Smythe. I agree Hedman was probably the right choice, although I think it was the closest race as far as the Conn Smythe RA in
Who was
ever.
second?
Second was Point, and what do you call it? Hedman had 9 first place votes. Point had 8, and they said it was among the closest ever. I don't know if it was the closest ever.
Hedman was
that as
not
close as it can get, 9-8, 1 vote.
Well, correct.
Well, no, it's a three vote system, so it's a total number.
Hedman had 9 first place votes, 8 second place votes, and 1 third place vote, and Point had 8, and 1. So literally it was 1 first place vote, which I think contributes 3 points that separated them. And I don't think anyone would have been upset if either of them would have won it. And you even mentioned Kucherov, but I just felt Point and Hedman were a little bit above that. But I even tweeted it out during the game. Have you ever seen Kucherov get a bad pass? This fucking guy, he's like one of those video games. You just throw it in his area and it gets batted down and it's on his stick and he's ready to make a play. It's insanity. All playoffs long, he was great. Especially on the power play, the Tampa Bay Lightning, one thing that they're very good at in the O-zone is they relieve pressure. If the puck's on one side of the ice and they feel any type of pressure, they'll throw it to the other side, and everybody, it's like watching the Sedins. They know exactly where it's going. They're right there. And then if there's more pressure on that side coming, they'll throw it right back around until they're able to pull it off the wall and have full control in the O-zone. So it was just gorgeous to watch. Whit, you hit the nail on the head with the tweet. Bettman, after pulling off the bubble the way you have in the NHL and everyone involved, now all of a sudden I think everybody's getting a soft spot for you. The fact that you didn't pour in booze over the sound system,
it would have made every person watching laugh really hard. Would have been a hilarious move.
He would have passed Silver,
and then he could have been like, he could have like WWE'd it up a little bit.
Yeah,
he probably looks like Paul Bear a little bit.
He could have got a Skechers deal out of it. I know he's been running around those shitty shoes all fucking playoffs. Inside the bubble.
You wonder if that's some
orthotics.
Is anyone close enough to him? Like, hey, yeah, you can do it. Oh, they have to clear it with Bettman first. Like if some guy does that, they'll love it. And then the next day he's fucking collecting unemployment.
If we ever get him on this podcast, that's the first question I'm going to ask him. Did you get asked if it would be okay? And if he nixed
Did you kibosh that? Did you kibosh the booze that were going to be pumped in?
I want answers. But it was great to see Cooper win his cup. I know that was long awaited. He'd won a championship at I think every level in hockey up until the Stanley Cup. RA, I don't know if you saw that tweet.
Oh, dude, I read up on him. What a crazy story this guy is. I know they always say former lawyer. Well, it wasn't just a former lawyer. He was a public defender making absolute shit. He was playing on a hockey team with a bunch of lawyers. He didn't even play in college. He played lacrosse in college at Hofstra. And he got buddy with a judge there. And then I think it was his kids' team needed a coach. They weren't good. He did it on a lock. He did it just to help out, and he was fucking had a knack for it. The team did a total 180. He got another job. Just kept bumping up. AHL, fucking NHL. Now he's won the Stanley Cup. It's absolutely insane. He didn't say, I want to be a hockey coach, and this is what I want to do. He just did it on a lock and had a knack for it. He said it was like talking to a jury. You basically got to convince the guys in the room, and that's what he compared it to, which I thought was a pretty cool analogy.
That's unbelievable. What a great story.
It was like high school, junior, a better junior league, AHL, NHL. It was nuts to read about him. And I think that guys, I mean, did you see the hug him and Maroon gave each other?
Yeah, well, Maroon was on that 07 team, whatever. I think it was a junior team somewhere. Maroon actually won that title with him back 13 years ago. So,
and his comments about Maroon after the game when they asked him about him, he says he's got character and he is a character. And I thought that summed up the Big Rig perfectly.
We gotta interview the Big Rig because I'll tell you right now, I was crying, laughing. They get the camera inside the locker room. And there's like 14 guys. They haven't taken one thing off but their helmet and gloves around the cup taking pictures. Big Rig's in the corner. He's completely undressed already. He's like going to the shot. I'm like, is this dude leaving the bubble to hit up? Like, he played in Edmonton. He's got to have some bar hookups here. Is he going to get the boys set up somewhere like a speakeasy because you're not allowed to do anything? But sure shit, I think he just wanted to be in some dry clothes after his big game. Of course, he gets an assist. The craziest part is, like, you look back at the year he had and how good he is in the playoffs, the style of hockey he plays. Why did St. Louis not sign him? Like, it's so like he was a low. I don't if he took what he did with Tampa. I mean, he would have not taken that with St. Louis. They just decided to completely move on. A little surprised looking back. Now, granted, he just wins another cup, so it seems a lot easier said right now. But he's just a force in the playoffs. He just gets it down low. You can't get it from him.
He was showering up to get ready for his DJ skills because he ended up putting the Drake back-to-back tune on, smoking the cigar all over Instagram. I believe he FaceTimed YP as well. So congratulate. Like, we've talked about it before too. He hasn't gotten his payday. There's some talk circulating around. I believe Andy Strickland tweeted something out about the fact that he might be looking at a multiple-year contract here. And I've heard rumors Montreal might be interested. Of course, Tampa is looking to bring him back, and I would assume another couple teams. People have been throwing Toronto out there because that toughness and character is needed in that locker room. I just don't know if they have the money to slightly overpay a guy to bring a guy in for character reasons. But either way, man, like, I hope he gets his payday, and congratulations on back-to-back cups. What's that?
I have to tell you one thing about Kucherov.
No.
Okay, because we haven't even brought that not well, we did, but he's just the ability to handle the passes. I can't believe I didn't drop this in then. There's 3 men who've had 26 or more assists in a single playoff season.
Let me guess.
Yep.
Wayne Gretzky 4 times and Mario Lemieux.
Did you already say that's that?
Last episode. Suck it, Wit. Yo! Stack guy biz in your face, bitch. You got to get up early in the morning.
That was the best. I'm like, what a fucking stat. Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux and Kucherov. And Biz Nasty dropped his nuts in my face last week.
Yeah, suck it, Wade. I actually got a fucking stat for you. Tampa played 220 minutes of overtime playoff hockey, most in history for a single run. And
well, there's a 5-for-5 OT game.
Okay. So, now you're shitting on my stats, eh?
Well, I mean, they went to the finals. It's not shocking. They had a 5 OT game.
All right, I don't know if you had this one written down either. Tampa's core group is very unique. Stammer, Hedman, Vasilevskiy, Kucherov, Killorn, Palat, Paquette, Point, Johnson, Cirelli, and Gord have played a combined 5,781 games, playoff and regular season. All of them have been in a Tampa uniform, not to mention Cooper is longest tenured coach in NHL history, or in NHL right now. And
NHL right now?
What do you mean?
Just like the way you just said that, like you tried to say NHL history, and then instead you're like NHL right.
No, because I was reading, and you know that I'm not a good reader. Okay, now you're just going to be bullying me all podcast. But the point being is, given that they hadn't had that Stanley Cup success until now, it would have been easy to blow it up a little bit and trade guys, especially after what happened last year. And then people have been sending this one out there on social media as well. Stamkos's comments right afterward last year, he was like, no, this is the group. This is a glitch. Something shitty happened. We lost control of the ship, but we need another chance at this. And credit to the brass and everybody in that organization was sticking with that core group, because now they deliver. And now that they've gotten one out of the way, I have no qualms about the fact that they're going to be one of the favorites to repeat.
Yeah, and about that, it's like the sustained excellence. It is rewarded around the NHL. Washington got their Stanley Cup. Pittsburgh's good every year. Then they get the back-to-back. If you're a top 5 team consistently in the league, chances are you're going to get your Stanley Cup. And it takes luck, like what we said. So I love that they didn't really change anything there. They added guys. And also, like, if I look at Tampa next year, there's no chance they're not the favorites to repeat. It doesn't matter what happens this offseason. It's just they're set up. I love seeing it because it's exciting hockey. So are they having a parade, by the way?
Yeah, boat parade, RA.
Yeah, they got that canal there, and I don't. Okay. Florida doesn't seem to be too concerned with social distancing and or masks. So Florida's going to do what Florida's going to do.
Going
so
down there.
Hey, whatever floats your boat at this fucking state.
RA, what were the biggest standouts for you in the final specifically?
First off, I want to go back to Maroon. I mean, we talked about him with character. Let's talk about that fucking unreal play he made to set up the goal. He picked off Radulov's pass. Boom, boom, boom. It's in, and that ended up being the ball game right there. So he made a huge play there. The dynamic duo of Kucherov and Point, they produced together 67 points, which was the fourth highest total among duos ever, after Gretzky and Coffey, Lemieux and Recchi, and Gretzky and Messier. I mean, you mentioned those names, and then those two. It's incredible. I don't care if you want to include the first three games or not. It's still impressive as hell. But the swing to me, Biz, special teams.
Oh, my God.
Tampa Bay, 7 for 18 on the power play. Dallas, just 1 for 19. I mean, that's it. You got to take advantage. I mean, 1 for 19, that's, I think, 6 or 7%. You're just not going to win with that. Tampa was deadly. Also, to Dallas, again, they kind of go, what happened to Colorado versus them? That happened with Dallas versus Tampa Bay. They lost Hintz. They lost Fox. They lost Comeau. These guys are huge guys in that lineup, man. You're putting in black aces and minor leaguers, and they're just not the same caliber. And I think that really hurt Dallas as well.
I couldn't agree more, because if you do remember when I picked Dallas going in, I thought Tampa was banged up. Well, they weren't as banged up as expected. Dallas was healthy, and then they kind of ended up being the banged up team. And then I mentioned special teams. Coming into that round, I believe Dallas was number 1 on the power play, coming in at 27%. And in every series, they got those opportunistic goals on the power play, especially when they were coming from behind, because I mentioned that stat a couple episodes back where they were on pace to at least tie the 2009 Penguins for most comebacks in a playoff run, because they ended up finishing with 8. And also a couple times in this series, they got up with leads and they gave them away, which wasn't happening throughout the playoffs. So Dallas fans, I'm sorry I mushed you, but I think I made the right call coming into the series, given what information I had. So fuck you.
Well, you reverse mushed Hedman. You said he was pretty much toast when he twisted his ankle there, and then all of a sudden he wins the Conn Smythe. So
that's another question I'm going to ask somebody when they get on the podcast. Cooper. He might have taken some acting as well as while he was in law school, some drama classes for his interviews, trying to fucking sway people's opinions on the guys in the lineup.